You're on the eve of new beginnings. And so we thank God because his word is already blessed. The pause before the promise. One of the fascinating aspects of my ministry for me, is to counsel people who are in transition. Couples, especially, who are at a crossroads. And there's one such couple, it comes back to mind. They are gainfully employed. Positions are stable. They're passionate. But on the other hand, there's this new venture. And so you have the weight of uncertainty coupled with the thrill of potential. I'm going somewhere. Watch this. So they spent long nights discussing, planning, and sometimes even doubting, because uncertainty is on this hand and potential rests on the other. So they're discussing, they're planning, they're doubting. And I want you to know that this is the period of contemplation that was their stable. An ordinary moment that held the promise of a transformative future. And I want you to think there. I want you to go there with me for this moment, because their story is no different than Mary and Joseph's, because our most significant leaps forward come after a period of quietness and reflection. There are no great moments leaping forward unless there are quiet moments of reflection and anticipation. And that's what brings us full circle to our story today, Mary and Joseph. Waiting in a stable, not knowing the full impact of the promise that they were about to witness. So all of us at some point have these modern day moments. Anticipation on one hand, uncertainty on the other. Ready to take that leap of faith into tomorrow, but there's always that moment of silence that comes before the promise. Luke chapter 2 says, and while they were there came a time for her baby to be born. She gave birth to a firstborn son and called him Jesus. Now, when we have these silent moments before the great moments, somebody missed that. Let me back this train up. Let me back it up. See, silence, if you're taking notes, is often where we find strength for the next step. See, most of us are too busy. Most of us, as my father used to say, just a ripping and a running. Anyone ever heard that? But have you ever stopped to consider that pause is not a delay? No, pause is nothing more than preparation. And if we don't take those times and those moments to just slow down, those moments to catch our breath, those moments where we consider what it is the Lord wants to download into us, like the quiet that comes before the storm. It's the time, you all, where we're readying ourselves for what's to come. Now, I don't know about you all, but when I went to school in the South, and going to school in the South, they're more in tune with nature than us folk who grew up in the North. I'm going to help you out. Now, I was in a deep part of Mississippi, Byhalia, Mississippi. I was visiting one of my fraternity brothers, went to his household, and here it is. I'm standing out in this field, those fields where you can see beyond eternity. I'm standing out there. And his grandmother raises up and she says, y'all come on in now. It's about to rain. I'm looking up in the sky. I don't see any rain. I'm a city boy. I'm looking up in the sky. I don't see any rain. It was all calm. Everything was moving right along, and I just stayed out there because obviously I know Tom Skilling. He's never wrong. If you want to get the weather right, you got to listen to Tom. And it looked like to me everything was all right. And I'm the only one. I should have known. That should have been a sign. I'm the only one standing in the field waiting. All of a sudden, she comes out. She says, I ain't going to tell you no more. Come on in. It's going to rain. And I stayed in my rightful place. Now, mind you, this is not how it is here. You know how we can walk out of our houses and walk into our garages and walk to the sidewalk and you can run back in. No, I'm out in the field. So that's a good quarter mile away. So I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, you all, out of nowhere, darkness rolled in. It dropped about 20 degrees in temperature, and then all of a sudden the torrential rain began to pour, and here it is. I'm the only one, when I finally make it back on the inside, wet. And so I asked her, how'd you know that it was going to rain? She said, I can smell it. Y'all miss what I'm getting ready to go with that. It was something that was in her olfactory that let me know, you all, that's just how the promises of God work. You all might not look like anything that's going on. It might not feel like things are happening, but then all of a sudden, the promises of God come through. So it's in silence where we find our strength to take the next step. Look at what the text says right here in Luke chapter 2. It says, and while they were there in the stable, at the end, it says, the time came for her baby to be born. Now, I'm going to stick a pin right there because I'm going to circle back to that, you all, because Romans chapter 8, verse 25, it says, but if we look forward to something we don't yet have, and I want y'all to catch this, it says we must wait patiently and confidentially. So the second truth that I want to lift you all from this story on Christmas Eve is that not only silence is where we find strength for the next step. I want you to catch this. Here's the second step. Don't miss it. Before there is a breakthrough, there's often a breakdown. God, three people caught that. 3 people caught that. Watch this. It says, but if we look forward, something we don't yet have, there it is, the breakdown. We must wait patiently and confidentially before there is a breakthrough. There's often a breakdown. Now, I can tell the story because Mary and Joseph in town, y'all remember the story, for a census. She's pregnant, and they're traveling to Bethlehem to be counted. And they finally get there, there's breakdown. There's no room. And then on top of that, not only is there no room, but you have to go into a stable. Breakdown. And on top of that, that's the place where the animals were often stored. Breakdown. But the people who said this had no idea that the promise of the Messiah was right before their eyes. Breakdown. So in the midst of all of these breakdowns, Joseph could have said, forget this. Let's go back home. Forget this. God is not keeping his promises. Forget this. Let me go ahead and take matters into my own hand. Forget this. Let me just go ahead and do it the way that I know how to do it. See, before you have any type of breakthrough, you've got to be broken down. God, I don't know who I'm preaching to. No. Watch this. I'm going to show it to you. Now, when we have those moments, see, everybody wants the promise. Because that sounds good to be able to say, let me claim the promises of God. All of us want the breakthrough because that sounds real good and it just rolls off of our tongue. But no one wants to go through that breakdown, because when you go through the breakdown, most of us, we complain. Go through the breakdown, most of us want to give up and throw in the towel. Go through the breakdown, most of us want to start walking away from the very things that gave us life. When we go through the breakdown, we get angry at God and everything that's associated with God. But see, God has to take you through the breakdown to make us appreciate the breakthrough. Because when you've been broken down, you have no worry giving God the glory. When you've been broken down, you know nobody did this but Jesus. When you've been broken down, you've made up your mind, I'm going to praise him like I'm losing my mind. When you've been broken down, nothing will stop you from getting your praise on. When you've been broken down, and ain't nothing left, all you're doing is preparing yourself for the breakthrough. Oh, that ain't the jump up part. Y'all sit down. Y'all gonna sit down. That's not the jump up part. That's about to come in about 5 minutes. All right, y'all with me? All right, let me move on. It says we must wait. Romans 8, verse 25. We must wait patiently. Y'all see that? Mary had to carry the baby for 9 months. I know it was the Messiah, but it had to go through the gestation period before the promise came through. We wait patiently. I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. And we wait confidentially. All right, y'all hear me? All right, now watch this, watch this. Now, while you're waiting patiently and confidently, can I tell you what you're feeling? Discomfort. God, I'm preaching this better than y'all responding. You feel discomfort. It's like you got moving indigestion. It's just not sitting in one place. It's just all over your body. You're trying to figure out what's going on. In this discomfort that you're feeling is doing nothing but stretching your soul. Because the soul that you had before the breakdown, the capacity ain't large enough for the breakthrough. So your soul is going to need to be stretching, because where God is taking you, you've got to have bigger capacity to handle where He is going. You are discomforted because your soul is being stretched. I was just making room for growth. And it's like when you work out at the gym. I was good on those 40-pound dumbbells. I was lifting like a soldier. I'm in there, you know how it is. I ain't the only one that do this. I don't play with me. I find that mirror. Because it's just something about standing like here. Okay, I'm standing. It's something about standing in the mirror. Well, you can see your work, and my trainer's like, what are you doing? You've been on the same weights for 2 weeks. He said, I want to introduce something new. I'm like, well, I don't do new. I mean, I'm working real good with the weights that I have. And he brought over 2, not 1, 2, 60-pound kettlebells. They from the devil. That's all you need to know. They are from Satan himself. And then he showed me how to use them. And I was pretty good. I was pretty good. And I'm doing my exercise. You know, you lift it up and you throw it on this part of your arm and you squats. Man, oh, man. Now, I should have known there was a reason he was standing behind me. You know, brothers, we get a little uneasy because this is personal space. He's like here, and I got 2 60-pound kettlebells. And he told me how to do it, and I lifted you all. I'm like, oh. Now I understood why he was standing behind me. Now, y'all ain't caught what I'm trying to say. It was discomforting, but I needed it. It was heavy, but I needed it. And as long as I had my spotter who was standing behind me, no matter how heavy the weight was, I knew I had somebody behind me that had my back. Do you think God would break you down and not stand behind you and spot you and let you know I got you, y'all. All right, y'all sit down. That wasn't the jump up part. It's coming. That wasn't the jump up part. It's coming. Now watch this. Now, every significant change begins with a moment of discomfort and tension. Good Lord, Junior, you really preaching this thing today. If you ain't having no discomfort and tension in your life, then you're doing it too easy. Oh my God, who am I preaching to here today? Because if you want to know if you're right there at the edge of a breakthrough, look at where the tension is in your life right now. Look at where the discomfort is in your life. Because God has to break you down for one reason. So you can stand by unequivocally and say, nobody did this but God. All right, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. And I'm about to land the plane. All right, here it is. He's come to jump up part. I told you I was going to let you know. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Verse number 1. Here's what it says right here, Sister Powell. Here's what it says. For everything, there is a what? A season. A time for every activity under heaven. Here's the third truth I want to build this on, and I'm going to land the plane. The third truth that I want to build this on. God's timing is perfect, even when it feels painfully slow. Between Malachi and Jesus, 400 years of silence. People had given up. I don't know about you, but if I ain't heard from you in 400 years, look like this thing ain't happening. I get uneasy if I ain't heard from you in a week. I'm just that type of person. So God's timing is perfect. It says in the fullness of time, God sent forth his son, Jesus. Now let me help you out and get a little scientific with you. Can I just do that for one moment? See, our understanding of time is linear. Come on, say that word with me, linear. All right. But God's concept of time is eternal. God transcends our linear thoughts of time. Let me back this up. God sits above the 24-hour day. Because where God sits, there is no time. That's just God in eternity. And so we have moments of impatience because linearly we don't see him move. But see, God is sitting above our time looking, saying, ain't ready yet. Let me back up and say, have you ever stopped to think that if God gave you everything that you prayed for, that he already knows your capacity to handle what it is that you're asking for? Have you ever paused to consider there's some things that he has to get out of the way before he makes a way? Have you ever paused to consider that some people can't handle where it is God's getting ready to take you? So he has to systematically start removing certain people from your life so that you can handle what you asked for. Have you ever paused to consider that God has to get your head right so it doesn't go to your head that you did it by yourself? Have you ever stopped to consider that you've got to get your spouse right, your children right, because with elevation comes responsibility? So God is sitting above time, checking off the boxes. That's why they stopped inviting you. Because where you're going, have you ever paused to consider old friends might not be welcome? God has to prepare you. That in between time. See, when you understand divine timing, it's not about watching the clock. You know anybody ever watch the clock? Don't do it while I'm preaching. Anybody ever? Be like God, sit above time. but have you ever watched the clock? You know, it just seemed like when you're in the groove and you where you want to be and with who you want to be, time flies. My wife get on me all the time. When I come back home from church, we might get out at 12. I don't make it home to 2 because I'm talking. I'm talking. Time flies. But have you ever been with somebody and they just suck all the energy out of the room? You get there, you ready to go. Anybody ever did that? You get there, oh, I'm ready to go right about now. That's why we ask who there. Because if I figure out certain one's gonna be there, it's like watching paint dry on the wall, man. Time stands still. So when you understand divine timing, here it is, y'all want to catch this. I'm gonna mess you up with this one. See, it's not about watching the clock, but it's about trusting the clockmaker. Ah, God. Oh, see, here's what I'm saying. God, I know you're gonna do it, but I just don't know when. But I went to church on Christmas Eve, and my pastor told me, you sit above time, and for you, time doesn't exist. So I'm going to trust you, clockmaker, because you said in your word, that's why you got to know the promises of God. You said in your word that you are a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. You said in your word that you made me a little bit lower than the angels, and you crown my head with glory, wisdom, and honor. You said in your word, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. You said in your word, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? You said in your word that I shall be planted like a tree. You've got to know the word. Trust the clockmaker. So let me go head on. And this is for real one. Let me go head on and land the plane for real. You know, I'm Baptist in my roots, so you know the first closing ain't the real one. It's getting you ready. And here it is right here, James chapter 1. I promise you I'm about to close it right here. James chapter 1. In verse number 4. Now watch this. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature. There it is, and complete, not lacking anything. The pause before the promise, the breakdown before the breakthrough. Here's the fourth step, and I'm done right here. See, waiting isn't passive. All right? Waiting isn't passive. It's an active state of preparation and expectation. Let me read this again, because, man, y'all looking at me in a strange tone of voice. Let perseverance, you do know what perseverance is. They drill that word into you when you're pledging. Persevere. See it through. Let perseverance finish its work so that you can be mature and complete, not lacking anything. See, you can do two things while you're waiting. You can do two things while you're in between the pause and the promise. You can complain and become bitter, or you can prepare and have an expectation. Now, let me go. See, active anticipation. Say that with me, active anticipation. See, that means you engaging in the wait. I don't know what God's doing, but whatever he's doing, I'm going to be ready when he do it. God, somebody just missed what I just said. Now, waiting isn't passive. You are actively preparing. How many of you all feel, God's up to something? He's up to something. All right, okay. 4 people raise their hand, all right? Well, we just going to be the 4 that's blessed. You can just sense it. Like my brother's mother who can smell the rain before it comes. Anybody just sense that something in the air? Can't quite put your finger on it, but you know something is happening. See, most believers think, I don't have to do anything. Now I can just stand here, and at any moment now, God, the breakthrough, the blessing, the promise is going to come my way. Doesn't work like that. See, while you're waiting, won't you go back to school? While you're waiting, go ahead and take that course that you thought that you needed. While you're waiting, go ahead and learn and upgrade your skills. While you're waiting, do something so when God finally breaks through that you already ready for the stage that you prayed about. Teach this Clarence Edward what I'm doing the best that I can. Sharpen your skills, deepen your faith, fortify your spirit, pray new prayers, do something engaging while you wait. Hey, patience isn't just waiting, it's also maintaining the right attitude. See, you can't wait for a promise and complain. You can't wait for God to move and not have the right attitude. And that's why I try to help my brothers, amen. That's why I try to help my fellow pastors. I told them, man, whatever you do today, people are going to do what they want to do. So why are you getting mad for people doing what they want to do? And I told them, man, no matter how mad you get, it ain't going to change who they are. The best thing that you can do is to work on your attitude. Preach the best sermon you're going to preach. Pray a little longer. Do the thing that you know that you ought to do. Galatians 6:9 said, so let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time. Because you trusted the clock maker, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up.